Alright, bros. Alright, bros. Okay, there we go. See what we can get going here. Okay. 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 Okay, dudes. Here we go, bros. I guess. Well, see what we can get going here. Slow moving, dude. Slow moving today. So, yeah. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Guess we're going to browse. I don't think this guy here's high enough for a brow though. We'll try him. I know, let's do the best, Mark. Alright. Okay.
Let's do this.
Okay. Let's. Okay, dude. we go. Really, bro?
That was close.
Yeah, goddamn motherfucking son of a bitch. Son of a bitch. Son of a bitch. Shit. Yeah, you gotta watch them damn things, man. I don't think that's gonna win either, to be honest. Not no honesty, I don't think it's a winner either.
This is gonna be so fun.
Hey, zip it. Oh, cool.
Oh God.
Ah! Bitch!
Come on. That's bad. Uh-huh.
Ah, sweet.
Yeah, buddy. That's 2 in a row, bro. Okay. Let's see. Yeah. Can win with that one. Absolutely win with that one. And that dude's. Christ. It's hot in here.
Oh, fuck! You blow that fucking horn again, I swear to God, I will ram that fucking thing up your goddamn ass!
Okay.
Bastard! Ah, thank God. I'm gonna dodge up in a bear.
Fuck that fucker's ass, boy. Shit. Shit, shit. Yeah, across the mighty, man. I'm gonna have to rank these captains up. I'm gonna have to quit doing this crap and rank my captains up. Let's see. I thought that Pomeran was no, it's a 9. Shit. Reckon Bismarck, and then needs reset. I kinda don't want to. I need to, because this needs to be, and these two. No, it don't either. Let's see. We're gonna fucking regret this. Our prevention, huh? Ooh. Gives you more hull. Improves your repair party, doesn't it? Okay. And I just got the feeling it's gonna be bullshit. Okay. I'm getting too close to him with Bismarck. I shouldn't be getting that close. No wonder they're taking me out. That one killed me earlier, man. I mean, he messed me up. Seriously. Yeah. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, I don't know Charlie, and he humped John 40 and nailed you with 60. Where the hell is he? He done captured the fucking center? Ah, son of a bitch. That's fucking DD. Motherfucker. Oh. This little bitch thinks he's he'll torpedo us sure in a minute. That's fuckface. Uh-huh. Oh, little fella. Oh, that bitch.
You can't be serious. This is a 30-ton war machine. Damn it, God! There's glass in my eye!
Uh-huh. Still fucking sunk him. Son of a bitch. Yeah, it's gonna be no clear winners on these dudes. Oh, lordy, 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 lordy. Let's see here. What have we got we can frig with? I got nothing really ranked that high for the Benson. I don't think I played with it much. That's my fucking captain for, I guess. That sucks. Oh Lord, we're about to get raped. Fuck. Okay.
There, let me dry those tears. Yes, your anguish sustains me.
See you later, bitches!
Yes, I'm probably gonna just die here, so. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I got wiped out in this one. Yeah. I can't play DDs. Yeah, man.
I'm blind as a bat. I can't see a damn thing.
He's about to find that out. What'd I tell you, bruh?
Oh man, now I can't even watch TV.
What'd I tell you, dude?
Man, you want me to kick those dents out for you? Now come on, let's get going.
Shit. Oh shit, I hit him. Oh, in fact, he's got me this time.
Man, you want me to kick those tits out for you?
I'm fucked. I'm fucked. I'm fucked. Yeah, like I told him, couldn't play him. I wasn't bullshitting. Hang on there, bros. I think I'm gonna take a heart attack.
so nasty!
No, Meg, this is crucial, all right? The sexiest thing a woman could do for a man is learn to love his gas. Love the gas, Meg. Love it!
Boy, that was close.
Well, that's 1 out of 5, ain't it? Let's see here how many we had to play to win one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, but 1 out of 6. My odds is great. About like my luck with cancer, huh? And there. Okay. Oh Lord. Let me see. Yeah. We ain't won much ease either. Volkswagen.
let's get this show on the road, eh?
Oh, this is nice. Spontaneously combusted. I am sorry. It's quite all right. I've grown tired of living. Oh, man, now I can't even watch TV. Listen to me telling you how to play a game. Oh, hey, you want to see a sweet porn website? Oh, boy, that was close. Wow, caught fire a little earlier than I thought we would. Man, you want me to kick those dents out for you? Ooh, hot. Oh, yeah, that's hot. That is hot.
He sets up the same for this one as the other one. As the yeah. Shit. try it again, I guess. I want you to listen to this crap.
Enoch Burke flouted a court order to stay away from school following suspension. Read more. School trust backs down and apologizes for plans to introduce trans education program for children as young as 4. It's the trans rights row that has gripped Ireland for well over a year, putting an otherwise unremarkable history teacher at the heart of the country's culture wars for his refusal to use a trans pupil's pronouns.
Well, I don't
Enoch
blame
Burke,
you.
who taught history and German, refused to refer to a transitioning transgender student as they rather than he in May last year. It sparked a chain of events that has led to him being jailed for repeatedly showing up at Wilson's Hospital School in County Westmeath after being sacked, and entering the staff room saying he was there to do his job. Now he remains in Dublin's Mountjoy prison with no prospect of release because he refuses to comply with a court order to stay away from the school premises. Meanwhile, Burke's loyal family continue to protest at the school, maintaining he's being persecuted for his Christian beliefs, while supporters insist the whole country is behind him. However, others less sympathetic to the cause view his stubborn refusal and his family's protests as attention-seeking, with one newspaper columnist pointing out that the Burkes like to get their own way. The row broke out more than a year ago, when during a meeting with the head teacher and his deputy, Burke said that his evangelical Christian beliefs meant he opposed transgenderism. Following this, Burke publicly criticized the head teacher's demand that staff use students' chosen pronouns, following a service at the Church of Ireland School to celebrate its 260th anniversary. Burke was accused of breaching the confidence of the transitioning student, and as a result, the teacher was suspended with pay and later fired for gross misconduct in August last year. However, Burke continued showing up at the school, prompting his former employer to obtain a court order to get him to stay away. In September last year, Burke was jailed for 100 days for ignoring the court order. During an appeal, the teacher argued that he was being imprisoned because of his Christian beliefs. After being released, Burke was imprisoned for the second time in September this year for refusing to stay away from the school again, and has been told he will remain in prison indefinitely until he agrees to comply with the court order. Here female delves into the case that has gripped Ireland, as Burke's family campaigns for his release without having to endorse transgenderism. Beginning of Trans Row. Last spring, head teacher Niamh McShane sent an email to her staff informing them of the student's new name and pronouns. After receiving the email, Burke is said to have raised his issue with the change of pronouns during a staff meeting on May 10 last year. While giving evidence in a later trial, Deputy Head Teacher John Galligan said that Burke erupted during the meeting and changed color completely. According to the former deputy head, Burke, whose forte was said to have been extracurricular debating, spoke for a good 5 to 8 minutes. After this, guidance counselor Frida Malone told a court that she approached Burke to tell him she was sorry he was so upset and noted that he had tears in his eyes. In a follow-up meeting between the head teacher, her deputy, and Burke, Mr. Galligan claimed the jailed teacher repeated how he was opposed to transgenderism as a result of his religion.
Well, that's
Following
nothing
this,
wrong with
Burke is
that.
said to have publicly interjected after a religious service celebrating the school's 260th anniversary to criticize Ms. McShane's supposed demand that staff refer to the student by their chosen pronouns. Following the chapel service, Burke is alleged to have approached the head teacher at a meal where he asked her to withdraw her demand again. As a result of this, the head teacher believed Burke was guilty of gross misconduct, as other students may not have been aware the student was transitioning. Ms. Frida Malone, who worked at the school as a guidance counselor, claims Burke breached the confidence of the student on 2 occasions during that occasion. Speaking at a high court hearing in March this year, Ms. Malone said the head teacher was escorted home by other guests at the event and they later formed a ring around her home out of concern for her safety. Discussing the incidents in court, head teacher Ms. McShane, who stepped down amid the controversy, said, "The public statement of his refusal to accept transgenderism in the chapel, it was as if the school had demanded to accept transgenderism, which was not the case, so it was a misrepresentation of what happened. What I asked is that we could support the student in their request. That is very different to ask the staff to accept transgenderism." Initial suspension and protest. In August last year, Ms. McShane submitted a Stage 4 report to the chair of the board John Rogers about Burke's outbursts, which prompted the representative to arrange a meeting with the teacher. The purpose of the meeting was to decide if Burke should be suspended or face any kind of disciplinary. Burke's sister Amy is said to have joined him for the meeting, which was adjourned for 15 minutes by Mr. Rogers, who said it was going nowhere. When the representatives returned to the meeting room, the Burkes had left. After this, the board made the unanimous decision to place Burke on paid leave while they dealt with the misconduct allegation. According to Mr. Galligan, there were growing concerns about what Burke's next protest might and the form it would take in the new school year. Despite being put on leave, Burke is said to have attended a staff meeting at the start of the school year. After repeatedly arriving on school grounds, Burke was allegedly asked to leave every hour by the deputy head. The ex-deputy head said Burke would be there for the day, standing in the room reading from a book. That's where he remained. Mr. Galligan says Burke refused to leave the premises, insisting he was there to work and attend meetings. In May 2023, the Irish High Court ruled that the school had acted lawfully in suspending Burke and said Enoch had been trespassing on their grounds. First prison sentence. In an attempt to keep Burke away from the premises while they conducted the investigation, the school took out a temporary court order against the teacher, which still didn't deter him. In August last year, Enoch was sued by the school for his failure to comply with the court order and later arrested for being in contempt of court. At his initial hearing on September 6 that year, Mr. Burke told Judge Quinn, "I am a teacher and I don't want to go to prison. I want to be in my classroom today. That's where I was this morning when I was arrested. I love my school, with its motto residential non verba, actions not words, but I am here today because I said I would not call a boy a girl." When the case went to the High Court the following week, Burke, who was representing himself, maintained that he would not purge his contempt of court for violating the order, insisting that he was being persecuted for his faith. When asked by Judge Eileen Roberts if he would abide by the order, Burke said, "I cannot do that. I go back to jail as a law-abiding citizen of the state always. But God first." Addressing the court, Burke said, "The question is not will I purge my contempt, but how this court order could have been granted. The court is asking me to purge my contempt, but this court has robbed me of my constitutional right. It was wrong what the court did. How can I purge my contempt of that which is wrong?" But Judge Roberts disagreed with his argument. The teacher was escorted out of the court to prison by 3 prison guards, to loud applause from the public gallery with many hollering, "The country is with you, Enoch." Dozens of people packed the public gallery shouting "disgrace" and "shame" following the judge's decision. The teacher served more than 100 days before being released on December 21 last year on an open-ended basis. Eventual dismissal and €15,000 fine. On January 18, Burke and his family interrupted a school board meeting, which was being held at the Malinga Park Hotel in Westmeath. During the meeting, the board heard Ms. McShane's report into Burke's misconduct. The family took issue to the fact that Chairman John Rogers, who had held the initial meeting with Burke, was not present. In a high court hearing, it was revealed that Mr. Rogers had not attended the meeting due to illness. The Burkes could reportedly be heard chanting in the hallway, "It's a sham. It's a cover-up." Gardai had to escort board members from a Mullingar hotel while they were being followed by members of Burke's family. 2 days later, it was announced that Burke had officially been dismissed from his position at the school for intimidating and harassing a colleague and breaching the confidence of the child who was in the process of transitioning. At the time, a statement from the school read, "He was informed in person at 3:30 p.m. this afternoon in the presence of Chairperson of the Board of Management John Rogers and Principal Frank Milling that he was dismissed." 1 week later, the High Court ruled that Burke would be fined €700 a day if he continued ignoring the court order which requires him to stay away from the school. Burke appealed the board's decision to dismiss him, which resulted in the case going to the Irish High Court in March. Mr. Justice Owens excluded the teacher on the first day, continually interrupted proceedings, and refused to comply with rules. Scenes of pandemonium broke out at the Court of Appeal, as Burke, his parents and 3 of his siblings were physically dragged out of the courtroom by Gardai. Enoch's mother, Martina Burke, accused the judges of bowing to the altar of transgenderism while waving a copy of the Constitution. His sister Amy, a solicitor, also attempted to argue with the judges mid-ruling, saying her brother's constitutional rights were not being upheld. Judge Birmingham asked her to sit down, and then requested that Gardai remove her from the courtroom. During the hearing, Frida Malone said the school was concerned for the transgender students' safety and feared Burke would continue making public protests in front of other students. Meanwhile, Mr. Galligan discussed Burke's initial outburst at the staff meeting and his repeated attempts to remove the teacher from the premises during his suspension. Following the hearing, Justice Owens made an order restraining Burke from trespassing on the school premises, but noted that this did not prevent him from being outside the gates. In July, Burke was ordered to pay €15,000 to Wilson's Hospital School to cover their legal fees and for damages. Appearing before Justice Alexander Owens, Burke said that objecting to people being transgender was his right.
That's the truth.
Here is a look at 5 of today's top political stories. House Republicans eye Wednesday vote to approve impeachment inquiry into Biden. House Republicans are eyeing a vote Wednesday to formalize the impeachment inquiry into President Joe Biden, 2 sources familiar with the matter told NBC News. NBC News. Read more. Giuliani caused perpetual nightmare for 2020 election workers, jury told. Rudy Giuliani disgraced the names of 2 Atlanta election workers as part of a call to action, causing them to suffer a perpetual nightmare since December 2020, attorneys representing the 2 women said during opening statements in a closely watched defamation trial. The Guardian. Read more. Jack Smith asks Supreme Court to weigh Trump's immunity argument. Special counsel Jack Smith on Monday asked the Supreme Court to consider and rule quickly on whether presidential immunity protects former President Trump from prosecution. Axios. Read more. George Santos discussing plea deal with federal prosecutors, legal filing shows. Former Congressman George Santos is talking to federal prosecutors on Long Island about a plea deal, according to a newly filed court document. ABC News. Read more. Zelensky arrives in Washington as Ukraine aid stalls in Congress. Volodymyr Zelensky warned against what he called a potential political betrayal of Ukraine's military, saying Russia is benefiting from Congress's inaction. The Washington Post. Read more. Politics Hub, elections and more. Keep up to date with the latest breaking news and analysis. Microsoft Start. Visit the Hub.
Oh.
Google lost an antitrust case over the market power of its App Store on Monday, a blow to the search giant as it faces other legal challenges to its search dominance and ad tech business. Video game maker Epic sued the search giant in 2020, alleging it used its dominant position to squeeze excess profits from app developers. The San Francisco jury reached a unanimous verdict after deliberating for less than 4 hours. Today's verdict is a win for all app developers and consumers around the world, Epic, the maker of the popular game Fortnite, wrote in a blog post Monday after the verdict. It proves that Google's App Store practices are illegal and they abuse their monopoly to extract exorbitant fees, stifle competition, and reduce innovation. Google said it would appeal the decision. Android and Google Play provide more choice and openness than any other major mobile platform, said Wilson White, a Google vice president for government affairs and public policy. We will continue to defend the Android business model and remain deeply committed to our users, partners, and the broader Android ecosystem. U.S. District Judge James Donato will decide next year what remedies Epic will be awarded. The parties will reconvene in January. In the original lawsuit, Epic said it wasn't seeking monetary damages or favorable treatment from Google. Instead, it wanted Google to have to make its Android ecosystem more open and competitive, but didn't provide specifics. It is unclear what that will look like. It is a big deal that a jury is saying yes, Google has a monopoly and it has illegally maintained a monopoly, said Lee Hepner, a lawyer for the American Economic Liberties Project. A jury was readily able to call a spade a spade. The loss comes as Google battles a growing number of antitrust challenges, including a landmark trial focusing on its dominant search engine. Epic's lawsuit formed part of a broader campaign against the fees Google and Apple charge mobile. Former President Barack Obama is facing backlash on Monday over a film on which he was a consultant, which warns about white people. After concluding his presidency in 2017, Obama has written a best-selling memoir and signed a deal with Netflix to produce films and television series. The former president has also created Higher Ground, a
Now we
production
know why
company co-led
Netflix is
by his
turning
wife,
out shit
former
lately.
First Lady Michelle Obama, in which projects were set to touch on issues of race and class, democracy, and civil rights. The company's first production, American Factory, debuted in 2019 and centered on an abandoned General Motors plant that was reopened in Ohio by a Chinese billionaire. The film took home an Oscar for Best Documentary Feature. More recently, Obama served as a consultant on Sam Esmail's latest film, Leave the World Behind, based on Ramon Alam's novel of the same name. The film, which was released on Netflix Friday, follows two families forced to work together amid a nationwide blackout. As the threat grows, both families must decide how best to survive the potential crisis, all while grappling with their places in the collapsing world. The former president and first lady signed on to produce the film last year, and as part of the deal, Obama was able to share his perspective on the events that unfolded on screen. According to Vanity Fair, while writing the script, Esmail consulted Obama, hoping that his perspective would ground the story and make it more realistic. Esmail added that Obama thought the script was fairly close to how a crisis would actually pan out in the real world. He had a lot of notes about the characters and the empathy we would have for them, Esmail told the magazine. I have to say he is a big movie lover, and he wasn't just giving notes about things that were from his background. He was giving notes as a fan of the book, and he wanted to see a really good film. However, since the film's release on Netflix, some have taken to X, formerly Twitter, to share their thoughts on a specific scene in the movie. Newsweek reached out to Obama via email for comment on Monday. The scene in question shows a black couple lying in bed as the lines, "I'm asking you to remember that if the world falls apart, trust should not be doled out easily to anyone, especially white people." Ex-user Libs of TikTok noted the scene, while claiming the scene was demonizing toward white people. Netflix film called Leave the World Behind, produced by the Obamas, includes a scene demonizing white people. White House Judiciary Chairman Jim Jordan and GOP Representative Barry Loudermilk have initiated an inquiry into Fulton County, Georgia, District Attorney Fani Willis over potential collusion with the House Select Committee that investigated the January 6, 2021, Capitol incident. They are seeking documents and communications between Willis's office and the January 6 panel, concerned about the politically motivated prosecution of former President Donald Trump. We are in possession of a letter, dated December 17, 2021, and enclosed herein, from you to Representative Benny G. Thompson, Chairman of the partisan January 6 Select Committee, requesting access to congressional records that may be relevant to our criminal investigation, Jordan wrote. Trending, Elon Musk condemns arrest of January 6 protester. Specifically, you asked Representative Thompson for access to record, include, ing, but, not limited to recordings and transcripts of witness interviews and depositions, electronic and print records of communications, and records of travel, he added. You even offered that you and your staff were eager to travel to Washington, D.C., to meet with investigators in person and to receive these records any time between January 31, 2022, and February 25, 2022. Although it is not clear what records, if any, you obtained from your coordination with the partisan January 6 Select Committee, this new information raises additional questions relevant to the committee's oversight of your politically motivated prosecution of a former president of the United States and several former senior federal officials. The partisan January 6 Select Committee had a troubling track record of procedural abuses and due process violations. It only solicited evidence from a select set of relevant individuals, ignored exculpatory evidence, and did not pursue witnesses with evidence that would not advance its partisan narrative, Jordan said. It fabricated and publicly released doctored evidence. It cherry-picked selective information to create false and misleading public narratives. To the extent that your politically motivated prosecutions are now relying in any way on records obtained from the partisan January 6 Select Committee, it only reinforces concerns about your commitment to due process and whether you have fulfilled your obligations to properly disclose this material, Jordan wrote. This new information raises questions about Willis's and Thompson's commitment to due process, and whether House rules were violated when the Select Committee failed to properly disclose this material, Representative Barry Loudermilk wrote. We have serious concerns about this behavior and we are seeking the truth, he added. This is not the first time Jordan has investigated Willis in connection with her case against Trump and others, and the inquiry raises questions about due process and potential House rules violations. Ms. Willis's indictment and prosecution implicate substantial federal interests, and the circumstances surrounding her actions raise serious concerns about whether such actions are politically motivated, the House Judiciary Committee wrote at the time. Most popular. Biden bank records reveal another massive bombshell. Democrat accused of blocking release of Jeffrey Epstein flight logs. Hunter Biden, indicted on 9 new criminal charges, faces 17 years. The post-Trump prosecutor Fani Willis under investigation for allegedly colluding with J6 committee appeared first on State of the Union.
Oh yeah, let's back on up here. Oh, let's shoot us some of these. Forgot about those. Worry about him. Fuck it, let's go get him.
Right in the guts.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Let's go out and out on this fucker here.
Wow, caught fire a little earlier than I thought we would. Man, you want me to kick those dents out for you? Kill that bastard! Giggity, giggity, giggity! Giggity, 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 giggity! This is more like it. Ooh, hot tub. Yeah, that's hot. That is hot. Giggity, 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 giggity.
Gotcha!
Giggity, giggity, giggity. Come on!
Yay, we won. Yay. Yay. I never did. Okay. Let's see here.
The Supreme Court wiped a series of rulings implicating the Biden administration's vaccine mandates for federal employees and military service members, preventing the decisions from holding the weight of precedent in the future. With the mandates rescinded, the justices sided with the Biden administration Monday in agreeing to set aside the lower rulings after deeming the disputes moot, thus providing a clean legal slate for any future vaccine mandates. Courts had come to conflicting conclusions in the cases, but before the Supreme Court could weigh in on any of the appeals, the vaccine requirements were cancelled. At issue before the justices was what legal remedy was appropriate given the developments. On the federal employee mandate, 2 appeals courts had arrived at opposite conclusions about whether federal employees had the ability to challenge the constitutionality of the mandate in court, or whether they were required to instead first go through the Merit Systems Protection Board, MSPB. In one case, brought by a Navy civilian employee, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit ruled in March that federal law required the MSPB. A few days later, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit issued a conflicting decision in favor of an organization called Feds for Medical Freedom and various other plaintiffs. Biden rescinded his executive order that established the federal employee vaccine mandate in early May, before the Supreme Court could weigh in on either case. In the military vaccine mandate case, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Sixth Circuit issued an injunction preventing the Air Force from enforcing the requirement against religious objectors. Weeks later, Congress passed legislation directing Biden's defense secretary to rescind the mandate before the Supreme Court could consider any appeal. In all 3 disputes, the administration urged the justices to issue what is known as a Munsingware vacator, which sets aside a lower ruling in certain instances of mootness. The Navy employee who lost in the lower court agreed, while the victorious plaintiffs in the other federal employee case and the military vaccine case urged the Supreme Court to let their rulings stand. Those plaintiffs argued that Munsingware wasn't applicable because the Biden administration had voluntarily mooted its own case. One group noted that other pandemic-era measures were dismantled months earlier, while the vaccine mandate remained in effect. Petitioners asked this court to endorse a heads we win, tails you get vacated version of Munsingware, where they can litigate to the hilt in both district and circuit court and, only if they lose, then decline to seek substantive review from this court and instead moot the case and ask this court to erase the circuit court loss from the books, those plaintiffs' attorney wrote to the justices. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, who has repeatedly pushed back on the legal maneuver, dissented from the court's decision in 2 of the 3 cases. In the third, Jackson said she would personally disagree but agreed to the administration's request based on the Supreme Court's established practice. In my view, the party seeking vacator has not established equitable entitlement to that remedy, Jackson wrote. The Biden administration pushed back by arguing the changing public health circumstances is what caused the president to end the federal employee mandate. The president revoked EO 14043 because of the waning of the pandemic, not any effort to evade judicial review or gain litigation advantage, the Justice Department wrote in court filings. Copyright 2022 Nexstar Media Incorporated.
Well,
White NYPD officers are quitting due to non-whites joining force. The New York Police Department is the most prominent police department in America. After all, this is the only police force in the world to have its own TV show. Also, nearly every drama series in America somehow features the NYPD. Unfortunately, the morale is low within the real-life police department, according to insiders. According to this insider, white officers are stepping down because they're uncomfortable with all of the non-white new officers. New York City, despite being known as a liberal bastion, has a history of racism. With NYC being the largest city in America, this should come as no surprise. Places with high population have a high population of everything, racism included. Also, a city of this magnitude has a hierarchy that is also heavily rooted in racial politics. As a result, something coming in to disturb this balance will definitely be met with some pushback. An anonymous insider within the NYPD said the morale is low. Also, they said there is no respect for the current police commissioner. There were also complaints for how the DA carries out motions.
Right.
If things aren't handled a certain way, officers could be held liable in civil court. As a result, the insider claims many of the white officers are leaving the force. Meanwhile, there were complaints about Eric Adams, the NYC mayor, pushing a progressive agenda because he wants to be president. Source: New York Post. White NYPD officers are quitting due to non-whites joining force. The post-white NYPD police officers are quitting due to several non-white officers joining the force appeared first on Hip Hop Vibe. Former President Donald Trump launched his third presidential campaign in November. He was the first major Republican to announce a 2024 candidacy. Just a fraction of GOP elected officials are backing him, but he's leading the pack on endorsements. Former President Donald Trump announced a comeback presidential campaign in November. And while he's currently leading the pack in terms of endorsements, many Republicans are continuing to stay out of it. As of Monday, December 11th, 7 governors, 17 senators, and more than 80 House members have announced they're backing Trump in 2024 or expressed support for his bid, even as he faces an array of criminal charges across several jurisdictions. Trump was the first major Republican to announce a 2024 candidacy, but a majority of his party still hasn't rallied behind him. As president, Trump maintained an ironclad grip over the Republican Party. Even after his term, and an unprecedented assault on the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021 by a crowd of his supporters, he's shown an ability to influence Republican primary voters and exact retribution upon his inter-party foes. Here are all of the prominent Republicans who have endorsed Trump's 2024 campaign. 7 governors. Greg Abbott, the Texas governor, endorsed Trump at an event with the former president in November. Mike Dunleavy, the Alaska governor, endorsed Trump in late August, calling him the best president for this state in its short history. Jim Justice, the West Virginia governor, first elected as a Democrat, tweeted his support for Trump in April as he faced an indictment in Manhattan. Henry McMaster, the South Carolina governor, was announced as a member of Trump's campaign leadership team at a January 28 event in Columbia, where he declared that the country will see a burst of freedom and prosperity unlike any we have ever seen before if Trump is re-elected. Kristi Noem, the South Dakota governor and potential vice presidential contender, endorsed the former president at a rally in her state. Tate Reeves, the Mississippi governor, endorsed Trump in October. Sarah Huckabee Sanders, the Arkansas governor, who served as Trump's White House press secretary, finally endorsed the former president in November. 17 senators. Mike Braun, the Indiana senator, currently running for governor, told Fox News in September that Trump is the candidate capable of returning us to the America First policies that delivered unmatched prosperity and security for the American people. Katie Britt, the Alabama senator, endorsed Trump in December, writing in an op-ed that he's already proven he's more than up for the job. Marsha Blackburn, the Tennessee senator, endorsed Trump following the former president's meeting with Tennessee Republicans in April. Ted Budd, after winning his North Carolina U.S. Senate seat with Trump's backing, Budd endorsed Trump in April. Kevin Cramer, the North Dakota senator, who had previously backed Governor Doug Burgum, endorsed Trump in December. Steve Daines, the Montana senator, who also serves as the head of Senate Republicans' campaign arm, endorsed Trump in an appearance on Donald Trump Jr.'s podcast in April. Lindsey Graham, the long-serving South Carolina senator, has formed a close relationship with Trump over the years, becoming one of his leading allies in Congress. I know the downside of Trump, but let me tell you about the upside of Trump. There are no Trump policies without Trump, Graham told Fox News in January, touting Trump's achievements. Bill Hagerty, the Tennessee senator, who previously served as U.S. ambassador to Japan under Trump, offered his wholehearted endorsement to the former president in April. John Hoeven, the North Dakota senator, who had previously backed Governor Doug Burgum, endorsed Trump in December. Cindy Hyde-Smith, the freshman Mississippi senator, announced her support for Trump in April, saying he was attentive to the needs of her state as president. Roger Marshall, the Kansas senator, endorsed Trump in November, calling for an end to the political primary charade. Markwayne Mullin, the Oklahoma freshman, announced in February on Truth Social that he's proud to endorse the strongest president of my lifetime, Donald J. Trump, for a second term in 2024. Eric Schmidt, the newly elected senator, told Politico in January he's backing the former president in 2024, who also endorsed Schmidt in Missouri's GOP primary last year. Rick Scott, the Florida senator, endorsed Trump in November, writing in Newsweek that GOP voters are making their voices heard loud and clear. Tommy Tuberville, the Alabama senator, endorsed Trump in a tweet just days after he launched his 2024 bid, becoming the first Republican senator to do so. Tuberville, a former Auburn University head football coach, later told Insider that Trump's leadership role experience was especially important to him. J.D. Vance, the freshman senator and author of the best-selling book Hillbilly Elegy, who secured Trump's endorsement in last year's Ohio GOP primary, declared his support for the former president in an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal on January 31st, praising his foreign policy record. Roger Wicker, the Mississippi senator, was announced as a member of Trump's Mississippi leadership team in December 2023. 86 House members. Robert Aderholt, the Alabama congressman, endorsed Trump in early August. Brian Babin, the Texas congressman, was named as part of the Trump campaign's Texas leadership team in March. Troy Balderson, the Ohio congressman, endorsed Trump on August 1st, citing his commanding lead among Ohio voters. Jim Banks told the New York Times that he supported Trump following the GOP's underperformance in the midterm elections. Trump in February endorsed Banks' 2024 bid to become Indiana's next senator. Andy Biggs, the former House Freedom Caucus chairman, tweeted his support for Trump the day he announced, writing, "President Trump is the leader of the Republican Party. Let's make America great again." Gus Beliricus. Three petitions arising from January 6 Capitol riot prosecutions have been relisted by the Supreme Court, raising questions about how justice might rule, why a decision is being delayed, and whether good news for former President Donald Trump could be on the horizon. The court released a new order list on Monday that included the relisting of three different appeals brought by defendants Edward Lang, Garrett Miller, and Joseph Fisher, who are challenging the Justice Department's reading of the felony obstruction of an official proceeding. The justices opted to take no action on the matter, and push the matter until the new year instead. A U.S. district judge previously dismissed the charge against the three defendants, but a U.S. appeals court reversed that decision in April. The three men have not gone to trial on the charge. The obstruction charge has been deployed against hundreds of defendants allegedly involved in the January 6, 2021 riot, including Trump, who faces the charge in his federal election interference case. If the justices decide so much as to take up the case, it would take months for them to hear oral arguments, and they would then be expected to issue a ruling before June. If the Supreme Court strikes down the DOJ's application of the federal law, such a decision is expected to upend hundreds of cases. Asked about the court's Monday announcement, Lang's attorney Norm Pattis told Newsweek, "Well, the petition is still alive. So that is good," but added that he wasn't sure why the justices have chosen to relist the cases. The court deferred a decision whether to accept the cases for review and possibly scrutinize the government's use of a specific subsection of the obstruction of justice statute, former federal prosecutor and elected state attorney Michael McAuliffe told Newsweek. "It's really like reading tea leaves, you can see what you wish. We'll know the answer in January." The court was scheduled to discuss the cases in their private meeting earlier this month, but it was cancelled following the death of retired Justice Sandra Day O'Connor. The petitions will now be reconsidered at the next conference date of January 5, 2024, paving the way for a decision to be announced as early as January 8, 2024. It is almost impossible to know exactly what is happening when a particular case is relisted, but there are a few possibilities, according to analysis website SCOTU's blog. Those possibilities include one justice wanting to pick up a fourth vote to grant review of the case, one or more justices wanting to analyze the petition more closely, a justice is still in the process of writing an opinion on why the court denied review, or the court could be writing an opinion to reverse the decision without oral arguments. Responding to Monday's order list, legal commentator Steve Vladek said on X, formerly Twitter, that could mean that the court is going to take up the issue, but it could just as easily mean that 1+ justices want to write an opinion respecting a denial. Although it's unclear what lies ahead for the January 6 petitions, Lawfare senior editor Roger Parloff noted that it does increase statistical likelihood of a grant. Unwelcome but not catastrophic news for DOJ, Parloff wrote on X. Conservative legal analyst Julie Kelly agreed that the announcement would likely increase the chances that the Supreme Court would take up the cases, tweeting that relisting is usually a good sign for petitioners. But House SCOTUS tied against a running clock in Trump's case. This is one of 4 charges in Jack Smith's indictment, is unknown, Kelly said. One takeaway is this is not encouraging news for either DOJ or Smith. Former federal prosecutor Nima Rahmani told Newsweek the relisting of the petitions bodes well for Trump. If the Supreme Court reverses the rioters' convictions, the logic would also apply to Trump, so he would be chipping away at some of Smith's charges, Rahmani said. In the federal election interference case, Trump was charged with 1 charge of conspiracy to defraud the United States, 1 charge of conspiracy to deprive citizens of the right to vote and have one's vote counted, and 2 charges of obstruction of an official proceeding. He pleaded not guilty to all 4 felony charges. Related articles. Donald Trump gets new evidence in January 6 case. Donald Trump moves to freeze election fraud case. Donald Trump's treatment of January 6 protesters could come back to haunt him. Start your unlimited Newsweek trial.
Oh man, now I can't even watch TV. Oh, well, it appears I've been fired. Time for a little payback.
Come on, hit him. Fuck, missed him. Didn't work, did it, bitch? Oh, no, it didn't. I'd say they don't want Trump to win
A
nothing
Republican
on that.
representative is demanding that Saturday night live issue a full-fledged apology after the show mocked New York Representative Elise Stefanik. Saturday's episode opened with a sketch parodying the congressional hearing on campus anti-Semitism. On December 5, the presidents of Harvard, MIT, and the University of Pennsylvania discussed measures to address the rise in anti-Semitism at colleges amid the Israel-Hamas war, with their testimonies prompting uproar online. An exchange between University of Pennsylvania President Liz McGill and Stefanik has gained particular traction, with conservatives, including North Carolina Representative Greg Murphy, blasting SNL for ridiculing Stefanik while being less harsh on the progressive college leaders. On October 7, Hamas launched a surprise attack on Israel, killing 1,200 people and taking 240 hostage. Israel subsequently fired airstrikes on Gaza. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu cut off supplies of food, medicine, fuel and energy into Gaza, before launching a ground offensive. As of Monday, 17,700 people have been killed in Gaza, according to the Associated Press, with roughly 90% of the area's 2.3 million population displaced. The conflict has led to a rise in anti-Palestinian and anti-Semitic attacks across the U.S. Although she denounced anti-Semitism earlier in the hearing, McGill was criticized for seemingly evading a question by Stefanik. When asked if students calling for the genocide of Jews breaks the university's rules against harassment, McGill called it a context-dependent decision. If the speech turns into conduct, it can be harassment, yes, she told Stefanik. The exchange went viral, with McGill resigning from her post on Saturday. The SNL skit that night starred Ego Newton as Harvard President Claudine Gay, Heidi Gardner as MIT's Sally Kornbluth, and Chloe Feynman as McGill, while Chloe Trost portrayed Stefanik. I'll turn it over to MAGA superstar Elise Stefanik from New York, who's been pacing the hallways listening to Lose Yourself by Eminem, said comedian Molly Kearney, dressed as Representative Virginia Fox, chairwoman of the House Committee on Education and the Workforce. Thank you, Chairwoman, Trost replied. I'm going to start screaming questions at these women. I'm Billy Eichner. Yes or no, is calling for the genocide of Jews against the code of conduct for Harvard, she asks Newton, who replied, well, depends on the context. Trost then moved on to Feynman, yelling, you Penn lady, same question, yes or no? Well, we are serious about stopping all forms of hatred, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia. She responded, before Trost interrupted. Not the second one, she cries, meaning Islamophobia. Next, Trost questioned Gardner, telling her, keep in mind, if you don't say yes, you're gonna make me look good, which is really, really hard to do. Do you think genocide is bad? She asked, with Gardner requesting to submit her answer in writing at a later date. Am I winning this hearing? Wondered Trost, grinning. Somebody pinch me. The chairwoman informed Trost that her time is up, giving the floor to Michigan Representative Tim Walberg, played by Michael Longfellow. However, he gives up his time so Trost can continue. I'm here today because hate speech has no place on college campuses, Trost said. Hate speech belongs in Congress, on Elon Musk's Twitter, in private dinners with my donors, and in public speeches by my work husband, Donald Trump. Throughout the remainder of the skit, Trost's version of Stefanik tried to derail the college president's attempts to discuss anti-racism initiatives. While wrapping up the scene, Trost told the crowd that she had a great time before describing herself as the Hanukkah gift nobody wanted. Newsweek has reached out to Stefanik and Saturday Night Live via email for comment. The sketch didn't go down well with conservatives online, including Murphy. Nothing short of full-fledged apology from entire staff of SNL at NBC SNL is required, the 60-year-old wrote on X, formerly Twitter. Attacking at Rep. Stefanik instead of the anti-Semitic progressive president's rings of their own anti-Semitism. Typical damn liberal hypocrisy. Some users agreed with Murphy, with user Rose commenting, SNL equals trash. Spot on. It was disgusting.
I haven't watched
wrote
Saturday
Lucinda
Night
Live.
Live in years, but it's nothing like it used to be. What in the hell would Fetterman be agreeing with
Democratic
Republicans?
Senator John Fetterman of Pennsylvania urged Democrats to engage in a reasonable conversation about border security, emphasizing the scale of illegal immigration. He stressed that concerns about illegal immigration led Senate Republicans to reject an aid package. I hope Democrats can understand that it isn't xenophobic to be concerned about the border, Fetterman said. Trending, U.S. state unveils controversial gender-neutral laws. It's a reasonable conversation, and Democrats should engage. Honestly, it's astonishing. And this isn't a Fox News kind of statistic. This is the government's, he said. You essentially have Pittsburgh showing up there at the border.
Fetterman looks better since they put his ass back in the tie in the suit, man. He looked like Lurch running around
emphasizing his responsibility to address the issue. What's next? What's next is the commander
like a homeless dude that broke into Congress.
Wake up and do something about a broken border, Republican Senator Lindsey Graham said. President Biden has been unmoved to work with us to try to come up with a solution until now.
John Kennedy like him too.
We have something that provides us the opportunity to force the administration to do something they have not wanted to do up to this point, and we
How much
intend to
for
do
Matt
everything we
Gaetz?
can to make sure these policies are put in place to stem the flow of illegal immigration into this country. Negotiations are back, a Democratic source said. Republicans presented us a proposal, we are still digesting it. There is still a lot of daylight between the two sides. There's still major decisions that have to be made about the contours of the agreement, and us being able to go back to our conference and say this is going to reduce future flows, Republican Senator Tom Tillis said. Republicans urged Biden to come to the negotiating table. When you're making law, the president has got to be involved, Senator James Lankford said. If the White House is not engaged in the negotiations, then nothing is going to get done on it. It's Biden's job to fix this, Graham pressed. Most popular. Biden bank records reveal another massive bombshell. Democrat accused of blocking release of Jeffrey Epstein flight logs.
Yeah, I believe
Hunter
they are
Biden,
blocking
indicted
those.
on 9 new criminal charges, faces 17 years. The Post-Fetterman criticizes fellow Dems, agrees with GOP on border security. It's astonishing appeared first on State of the Union.
Say la dee. I'm gonna fuck you up, you see. You're going down. You jackass, homo. Yeah, yeah. Happening there, Captain. Holy shit, I killed him! Let's see what Biden's mumbling about.
President Joe Biden is struggling for popularity among American voters ahead of his run to be re-elected next year.
That motherfucker's struggling just to remember his name.
38 show Biden's approval ratings hit an all-time low. Just over 37% of voters approve of his leadership since he was elected to the White House in 2020.
Yeah, they
The
are lying
numbers
to
may
you.
concern a number of Democrats worried that a faltering Biden would hand Donald Trump the keys to the Oval Office next year. Biden has not had a positive polling rating, that is, he has not been recorded as more popular than he is unpopular, since August 2021. This was following the withdrawal of U.S. troops from Afghanistan and the takeover by Taliban forces. Despite a Pew Research poll from the time indicating that most Americans were in support of the policy, just 27% said the Biden administration had handled it well. A total of 69% of people were critical of Biden. Since, Biden has faced an economy with high levels of inflation and backlash over his immigration policy, which has so far, much like previous administrations this century, failed to introduce meaningful reform. The president, now 81,
not
also
Biden.
faces questions over his age after several speech gaffes and physical slip-ups. This week, the president's son, Hunter Biden, was hit with an indictment in California that said he avoided millions in taxes and spent a lot of the money on vices including prostitution, partying, and luxury cars.
Lord, shame
The
on him.
indictment, which said Hunter Biden was to be charged with 9 tax charges, states money was spent on drugs, escorts and girlfriends, luxury hotels and rental properties, exotic cars, clothing, and other items of a personal nature, in short, everything but his taxes.
What about the coke
The
they found in the White House? Everybody seems to forget about the coke they found in the White House, man.
But a large number of voters believe Hunter Biden traded on his family name and proximity to power to get millions of dollars from foreign business associates.
Why, he'd
In
never.
September, then-Speaker Kevin McCarthy confirmed there would be an impeachment inquiry conducted by the House Oversight Committee. Currently, there is no evidence of any wrongdoing by the 46th president, but the inquiry is likely to keep the issue in the headlines. Trump, meanwhile, continues to run on a platform
see,
that
that's
appeals
a
to
lie
the
right there,
base.
dude, because they do have
He is the clear favorite
canceled
to be the
checks and
Republican
shit.
nominee for 2024,
That,
despite the raft of legal problems he currently faces, and now looks to be pulling ahead of Biden in the
there's
polls in the race for
more than
president.
enough for an
This week,
for
a
an
Wall Street Journal
impeachment
poll showed
inquiry.
Trump leading Biden by 47% to 43% in a head-to-head matchup. Trump's base may mean that support for him is less likely to waver when presented with an alternative. 94% of Trump's 2020 support said they would vote for him again, compared to 87% for Biden. Newsweek has
That's
approached the Biden administration for
87%
comment
of the
via
people
email.
that voted for him
In the Wall
said
Street
they
Journal
won't
poll, Trump's
again.
lead increases to 6 points, and he leads Biden 37% to 31%.
Now you
Another
add that
17%
up.
prefer other candidates. At a
He's got
fundraising event near Boston last week, Biden
19%,
himself admitted he would
13%
not
of
be
his
running if it
voter
wasn't
base
Trump he
says
was
he
up
still
against.
vote for him.
If Trump
Then you
wasn't
have
running, I'm not sure I'd be running, he said, The Guardian reported. We cannot let him win. Where Biden can secure a surge in support for him is unclear, but the Wall Street Journal poll suggests around 10% are undecided. The newspaper said, voters who are undecided on the presidential race lean Democratic in other survey questions, suggesting that they could be persuaded to back Biden nearly a year from now. Further potential developments involving Trump may also be a factor. The polling suggested Trump would have 45% of support if he were convicted of one of the 91 charges against him. He denies all of them, while 46%
I doubt that it would
Biden
be.
in this scenario. Whether growing concern among Democrats will push anyone in the party to put their name forward for election next year remains to be seen. Related articles. The Biden impeachment inquiry isn't just unserious. It's dangerous. Opinion election map for 2024 predicts Donald Trump will crush Joe Biden's healthcare agenda and
Motherfucker,
make a
yeah,
broken
them
system
toys,
worse.
bruh.
Opinion. Start your unlimited Newsweek trial.
Cocksucker set me on fire again, man. That's bullshit, dude. Fucking peckerhead. Stay on course, or fuckface. There you go. You're about to kill me. Up, he's dead. Fudge. Yeah, he went dead too. Well, I mean, it is what it is, huh? 45, 46, or ain't worth a shit. Huh. Let's see here. Oh, what's the U.S. shot down at China's? There we go. Huh.
American technology is scoring big against Iran-backed threats in the Red Sea region, and it's bad news for China. You know, the U.S. Navy destroyer USS Carney was in the news again Sunday, shooting down drones launched from Yemen's Houthi rebels against merchant shipping in the Red Sea. This crew has been taking out drones and missiles supplied by Iran for weeks now, and their tally is over 24 destroyed so far. You may not have heard about another very significant engagement. On October 31st, an F-35I stealth fighter made in the USA and flown by Israel shot down one of Iran's cruise missiles fired by Houthis from Yemen. This was the first ever air-to-air kill of a cruise missile by an F-35. Jack Carr's take on Gregory Pappy Boyington, born on this day, December 4, 1912, larger-than-life hero to me. China, take note. China has no recent combat experience, thank heavens, so they watch and dissect military operations, especially when advanced technology and tactics are on display. China saw what happened to that Houthi cruise missile. And they know the F-35 can do it to Chinese missiles, too. Americans call the F-35 the Lightning II, after the P-38 Lightning fighter plane of World War II fame. Israel calls their F-35 is a deer, meaning mighty one. Read on the Fox News app. As I see it, the F-35 cruise missile shoot-down delivers 3 major lessons to vex China. First is the exceptional tracking by the F-35. Now understand, cruise missiles are a lot smaller and thinner than fighter jets, and tracking them has been a big worry since the 1970s. Here comes the F-35 to smash the paradigm. After the October 31st kill, Israel later released a crisp gun camera-style video of the F-35 tracking and engaging the cruise missile. The detection and intercept verify that the F-35, flown by the U.S. Air Force, Navy, and Marine Corps and many allies, can detect and hit incoming cruise missiles trying to slip by at low altitudes. That's crucial for the balance of power in the Pacific. 2 retired American fighter pilots broke it down. Dude, I'm just impressed the targeting pod is tracking it. That tells you how great the EO/IR system in the F-35 is, that it's tracking and watching the whole thing happen. F-16 fighter pilot C.W. Mover Lemoyne and his A-10 pilot guest call sign Shanghai commented on the Mover and Gronke show, posted on YouTube on November 15. The 2 retired American fighter pilots said the F-35's track was particularly impressive because of the ground clutter, to get that thing while it was going so low and so fast and track it accurately. Exactly. Only it's not just a pod. The F-35 has sensors distributed all along its husky belly. The targeting system uses electro-optical waves, like TV, plus infrared, also called heat, to find and track targets, in addition to radar. The hot little plumes. Los Angeles, California. Jane Ferguson, a correspondent for PBS, has sparked controversy online following her comments on the recent riots in Dublin. During a segment on Maher's show, Real Time with Bill Maher, Ferguson, a respected journalist known for her insightful reporting, was invited to discuss the upheavals in Dublin. The riots started on the evening of November 23, apparently triggered by the stabbing of 3 young children in the street. Rioters smashed shop windows, set fire to police cars, buses, and a tram, and clashed with officers in violence rarely seen in the Irish capital. Calm was restored the next day amid heavy police presence after 34 people were arrested. Controversy over Jane Ferguson's response to Dublin riots. Maher, known for his candid and sometimes a Denver-based reporter, has blasted the U.S. city becoming a sanctuary for illegal migrants. Speaking on GB News, Jimmy Sengenberger says busloads of migrants have been arriving as the city struggles to contend with such large quantities of people. It comes after reports suggesting more than $33 million has been spent by the city of Denver supporting the influx, with many coming from Venezuela. Sengenberger told Patrick Christie's that there has been a change in where migrants are arriving from. It's not just from South America, it's people coming in from Africa and from Asia, he said. They're apparently being sold this bill of goods that if they come to the United States, they'll be provided with food, medical care, and housing. That is overburdening cities across the country, including those like Denver, where we have a status for the city of Denver in what's called a sanctuary city, where reporting immigrants, illegal immigrants to federal authorities, immigration and customs enforcement isn't a standard practice. In fact, it's explicitly discouraged. He added that busloads have been arriving from other parts of the country, leaving the city filled to the brim. Up to 30,000 have come in last year to Denver from Texas and other states down at the border, he said. It is really putting a strain on the infrastructure and the systems here. Denver is estimated to have received more than 30,000 immigrants in 1 year in what a city spokesman has dubbed an emergency. It has taken a lot of blood, sweat, and tears from the Denver staff, he told CBS. The city has demanded further financial funding from the federal government while calling on southern border states to stop overnight drop-offs without notice. The American public have opted to show generosity despite harboring concerns by encouraging the public to buy Christmas gifts for immigrant children. The city is also set to host a job fair for part-time workers, offering more than $30 an hour to help staff the shelters serving the immigrants.
Doggone it! That's it! No more! I'm tired of being kicked around by this world! Oh boy, that was close. That is
schools are going along with Biden's plans out of fear of getting sued, according to a former Donald Trump advisor. May Mailman, who worked as a legal advisor for the former president, told GB News that men should not be playing women's sports in a scathing rant about Biden's policy. It comes as the U.S. president prepares to introduce plans that will not allow for anti-trans sports bans in schools. The Biden administration says in this proposed regulation that you should be separating sports based on gender identity, Mailman said. So anyone who says that they're a woman can play on the women's team unless the school can give a really good reason why that person can't participate on that team. Of course the schools don't know what a really good reason is, so they're just going to allow it because they don't want to get sued. They don't want to lose their money. So the Biden administration, instead of giving some clarity, they are saying that if we don't affirm a man's gender identity, then it's going to be harmful to that man. So therefore, we've got to kick a bunch of ladies off the team. We have to make all the women feel uncomfortable. We have to put them all at risk of injury to protect this man. The Biden administration has basically done exactly the opposite of what you would hope that leadership would do when you have a crisis of this nature in our young people. Mailman said Biden's proposed amendments to the super successful Title IX law will be taking away a spot for women. You're actually violating Title IX, she said. You're doing a disservice to the law. So whenever Biden comes out with his final regulation, he is going to get sued, I would say within 30 seconds of him releasing that rule. Democrats in Congress have been urging the Biden administration to push on with the plans. More than 60 House Democrats sent a recent letter to Secretary of Education Miguel Cardona in a bid to get the agency to act. There is vocal opposition to the proposals, including from media personality Caitlyn Jenner. Jenner has long advocated for the expulsion of trans girls in women's sports, arguing it is not fair. She told John Cleese that Biden has been on the wrong side of every issue in history as she spoke on his advocacy for the Title IX law to be opened up.
Nurse, I'm ready for my sponge.
That's bad when you got old Bruce Jenner coming after your ass over it. I mean, really, you know.
Lawmakers in both parties are growing increasingly concerned about where a handshake deal between the White House and former Speaker Kevin McCarthy, Republican California, on spending stands as they negotiate how the government should be funded next year. The Biden administration and House GOP leadership worked to pass legislation known as the Fiscal Responsibility Act, FRA, in late spring as part of a larger deal to suspend the debt ceiling and set budget caps for Congress to work from when it hashes out its full-year funding bills months later. But now that Congress is trying to ramp up its annual appropriations work, critical components of that months-old deal that were not reflected in the law are in question as ultra-conservatives, in pursuit of steeper cuts amid climbing debt, say Speaker Mike Johnson, Republican Louisiana, is not beholden to what Democrats say is the full commitment made by McCarthy. A deal is a deal is a deal, Senator Brian Schatz, Democrat of Hawaii, who serves on the Senate Appropriations Committee, said last week.
Yeah.
I think there's no way we're going to get to an appropriations deal if people can't hold to their commitments. In a letter to Republicans this week, Johnson said the FRA remains the law of the land that provides the framework for spending talks as both chambers work to reach a top-line agreement for fiscal 2024 funding. On paper, lawmakers agreed to a base discretionary spending cap of $1.59 trillion, or about $886 billion for defense spending and almost $704 billion for non-defense spending, for fiscal 2024. However, the White House at the time detailed other changes to pad funding on the non-defense side, including rescinding billions of dollars in IRS funding with the purpose of reinvesting it in non-defense programs. The IRS got $80 billion in additional funding last year, to be spent over the subsequent decade, in the Biden administration's Inflation Reduction Act, IRA, much to the consternation of Republicans. As part of debt ceiling negotiations, the sides agreed that a quarter of the money could be repurposed in annual appropriations. $10 billion would be taken away from the IRS for fiscal 2024 and another $10 billion for fiscal 2025, to be added to non-defense discretionary funds, White House officials said earlier this year. We didn't get into the individual line items in this bill, Office of Management and Budget, OMB, Director Shalonda Young said in
Motherfucker
May.
sunk me, holy
But she
shit.
said lawmakers would use IRS rescissions from the IRA on the mandatory side. Again, we don't dictate how, she said, but they will Hannah Giles, the CEO of conservative nonprofit Project Veritas, announced her resignation effective immediately on Monday, saying she'd unwittingly stepped into an unsalvageable mess upon taking the job earlier this year. Giles was named the group's chief executive 4 months after its messy breakup with founder James O'Keefe in February. In a statement posted to X, she claimed she'd taken over an organization wrought with strong evidence of past illegality and past financial improprieties. Suggesting she'd had no prior knowledge of the infamously embattled nonprofit's alleged improprieties, Giles continued on to say that once she'd discovered the evidence, I brought the information to the appropriate law enforcement agencies. Project Veritas and O'Keefe are best known for using hidden cameras to embarrass journalists and political opponents. In 2009, O'Keefe and Giles, then a journalism student, teamed up to surreptitiously record members of the national community organizing group Acorn, resulting in its eventual shutdown. This September, Mediaite reported that Project Veritas had suspended all operations and fired most of its staffers. Read more at the Daily Beast. Washington, Elise Brown was a little over 5 feet tall and weighed all of 117 pounds when she was ordered out of her blue Oldsmobile by police in California in 2019. She was also 83 years old. The officers who pulled Brown over thought the car she was driving had been stolen, mistakenly, it turns out, and, following their protocol, they drew their handguns, handcuffed Brown and forced her to her knees.
So they carjacked the 83-year-old. Okay, gotcha.
Get all the news you need in your inbox each morning. A federal appeals court this year ruled that Brown could sue the police for excessive force, waiving the legal doctrine known as qualified immunity that protects police from liability for civil rights violations in many circumstances. The Supreme Court on Monday let that lower court ruling stand, keeping Brown's lawsuit alive. More, Supreme Court sides with police overturns denial of immunity in 2 cases. At a time when the nation is grappling with fatal police confrontations, the Supreme Court has mostly balked at lawsuits questioning the legal immunity. A protest for a ceasefire in Gaza led to over 40 arrests at the Senate office building on Capitol Hill Monday, according to Fox 5 Washington, D.C. The pro-Palestinian protesters were demanding a ceasefire in Gaza while illegally demonstrating inside the congressional space, according to authorities. Just after 10 a.m., a Capitol spokesperson told Fox 5 that the demonstrators arrived, with one man even climbing a statue in the atrium, before being charged with resisting arrest.
Oh shit.
Officers could even be seen using zip ties to restrain the protesters as they carried them away, according to reports. Pro-Palestinian demonstrators swarm on Capitol Hill, demand Gaza ceasefire as police arrest protesters. In total, 49 people were arrested and charged with crowding, obstructing, and disruption, according to Capitol officials. Read on the Fox News app. Earlier in the day, just hours before the annual White House Hanukkah party, 18 Jewish elders chained themselves to the White House gates to demand the U.S. to stop funding and arming the genocide in Gaza, according to a post on X by Jewish Voice for Peace. Pro-Palestinian protesters will not answer whether Hamas is a terrorist organization. As elders, our hearts are shattered watching the Israeli military murder thousands of Palestinians, destroying families and lives. Everyone should be able to grow old like we have. We chained ourselves to the White House to demand a permanent ceasefire in Gaza now, the group posted on X. Republicans blast pro-Palestinian protests at DNC, nation's capital is under siege. 18 citations were issued as a result and the demonstrators were cleared off the premises, according to U.S. Park Police. The U.S. Capitol Police and the White House were not immediately available for comment. Original article source: Chaos at the Capitol, over 40 pro-Palestinian protesters arrested in Senate office building, police.
That is hot. Time for a little payback.
Hey, Quagmire, why is the red light blinking on your computer?
You reckon this Pecker would realize I'm going to Sankey's ass? Easy peasy, bro, when you let me capture them both, bro. Just saying. Okay. This old cow here, I think they're trying to get re-elected and couldn't do it.
Longtime Representative Sheila Jackson Lee, Democrat Texas, filed for re-election just 2 days after a stinging electoral loss in Houston's mayoral race and before the 6 p.m. deadline on Monday to file. Jackson Lee lost the mayoral runoff election on Saturday to another longtime Texas politician, Democratic State Senator John Whitmire, who will helm the nation's fourth-largest city. The race had gone to a runoff after the pair of candidates advanced from the November all-party primary. Shadow of doubt: are Trump candidates changing their election denial tune heading into 2024? The news of Jackson Lee quietly filing for her 16th term in office on Sunday was reported by the Houston Chronicle on Monday and confirmed by Mike Doyle, chairman of the Harris County Democratic Party. Although Jackson Lee has represented the Lone Star State's 18th congressional district since 1995 and easily won re-election since then, she will face competition for the primary from former Houston City Council member Amanda Edwards, who was a former intern for the Texas Democrat. Edwards had previously said she would stay in the race irrespective of whether Jackson Lee decided to run for her seat or not. Edwards ran for the mayoral contest before dropping out to run for Congress when Jackson Lee entered the contest. When we look at the critical need for economic opportunity, infrastructure, and the dysfunction in Congress, it's no surprise that people are saying that it's time for change, Edwards said in a statement Monday morning. It is time to do something different in this election so that we can obtain different results for the community. The two women are the only declared candidates so far running for the 18th district, which remains a solidly Democratic seat in the red state and will not determine if Republicans keep control of the House next year. Click here to read more from the Washington Examiner. Jackson Lee faced fallout from leaked audio of her berating staff with profanities during her mayoral race, which she later expressed regret over. "I know that I am not perfect. I recognize that in my zeal to do everything possible to deliver for my constituents I have in the past fallen short of my own standards, and there is no excuse for that," Jackson Lee said in a statement in October. Whitmire won his runoff against the Texas Democrat by nearly 30 percentage points, 64.4% to 35.6%, to become Houston's 63rd mayor. Tags: Sheila Jackson Lee, Texas, Campaign, Houston, News, Washington.
Alrighty.
Caitlyn Jenner recently criticized Lia Thomas winning a swimming event at the NCAA Division I National Championship in 2022. Thomas, a transgender athlete, competed in the women's category in 2022 and became the first transgender athlete to win an NCAA Division I national championship in any event. Thomas won the women's 500-yard freestyle event, beating Olympic silver medalist Emma Weyant. The transgender swimmer was placed fifth with a time of 1 minute and 43.50 seconds in the 200-yard freestyle and tied with Riley Gaines, an advocate against the inclusion of transgender athletes in women's sports. Thomas, who swam for the University of Pennsylvania, was earlier ranked 65th in the men's category of 500-yard freestyle. The trans swimmer then moved to first place after shifting to the women's category. Similarly, in the 200-yard freestyle, Thomas moved from 554th rank on the men's team to 5th in the women's category. In a recent interview with John Cleese for the GNB News, Jenner expressed her dissatisfaction with how Thomas was allowed to compete for the title, stating that Thomam had a few physical advantages. She said, "Lia Thomas was 6 feet 4 inches, big hands, transitioned just over the last couple of years, and hormone levels were lower but went through male puberty." She added, 6 feet 4 inches, big hands, kicking butt in the NCAA, and it's just wrong. It's just not fair, because they went through male puberty. Prior to her gender transition in 2015, Caitlyn Jenner competed in the men's athletics category during her professional career. Formerly known as Bruce Jenner, the former athlete had a remarkable Olympic journey that included securing a gold medal in the men's decathlon event at the 1976 Olympic Games in Montreal. Caitlyn Jenner praises Riley Gaines for standing up against Lia Thomas and trans athletes competing against women. Riley Gaines tied with Lia Thomas for the 5th place in the NCAA 200-yard freestyle event last year. Even though both the swimmers clocked the same time, Thomas was the only athlete to be awarded the 5th place trophy. Since then, Gaines has been a dissenter of trans athletes competing against women. Gaines has spoken against Lia Thomas on various occasions. Caitlyn Jenner commended Gaines for standing up against the inclusion of transgender athletes in women's sports. During the interview with John Cleese for the GNB News, she spoke about the former University of Kentucky swimmer, saying, "She has been a big advocate of keeping trans women out of women's sports, and I big support her. She's a good friend and has done wonderful work."
Okay. He's sweating a rainy day. I mean, what the fuck do you think he's pulling?
Wake up, sleepyhead. Oh man, now I can't even watch TV.
Little bitch.
Hey, what's your big idea?
Fucking little bitch. That sucked. That really sucked. Huh. Ain't that some shit? Damn. Oh.
My mother, Liz Moynihan, passed away November 7 in Manhattan, aged 94. Fittingly, it was election day. Liz was campaign manager for her husband Daniel Patrick Moynihan's 4 New York Senate campaigns, winning landslide victories on shoestring budgets. After her husband's death in 2003, Liz settled in New York City, where she championed the completion of Moynihan Train Hall and our city's museums, performing arts and higher education. When Moynihan served as U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, Liz was seated in the visitors' gallery during the November 10, 1975, passage of the infamous Zionism is Racism resolution. A great evil has been loosed upon the world, Moynihan declared after he strode to the lectern. The abomination of anti-Semitism, he continued, has been given the appearance of international sanction. The General Assembly today grants symbolic amnesty, and more, to the murderers of the 6 million European Jews. And he warned, the terrible lie told here today will have terrible consequences. Moynihan was prophetic indeed. 48 years hence, New York synagogues and delis are smeared with Nazi slogans, Hanukkah celebrations are cancelled, Jewish citizens are beaten and threatened daily. Before her death, Liz watched these events in horror. She had many friends in Israel and deep ties to New York's Jewish community. She was especially shocked and repulsed by teachers and students at our once prestigious universities hoisting signs that read against the Jews, Hitler was right and Zionism is racism. This pernicious anti-Semitism is deeply entrenched in our taxpayer-funded state universities. The State University of New York, City University of New York and City College of New York have for years been investigated for discriminating against Jewish students and voting in favor of the anti-Israeli boycott, divestment and sanctions movement. When then-Israeli Consul General Danny Dayan visited City College in 2018, CCNY Students for Justice in Palestine protested the talk with flyers calling Dayan a war criminal and posted our demands, which included supporting the BDS movement that prevents Zionist and imperialist powers from having a platform at CUNY. Nothing's changed. CCNY's SJP held a demonstration last week demanding that CUNY stand with Palestine and, again, keep Zionist and imperialist powers from having a platform at CUNY. Worse, in her May CUNY School of Law commencement speech, graduate Fatima Musa Muhammad called for the total destruction of Israel and deemed rule of law white supremacist. I sent several emails to the directors of CCNY's new Moynihan Center at the Colin Powell School for Civic and Global Leadership requesting a public statement condemning this dangerous hate speech. I provided quotations from Ambassador Moynihan's 1975 UN speeches and his successful effort to have the Zionism is Racism UN resolution overturned in 1991. Not a single CCNY official replied. See also editorial, How to Save Our Universities, Must Asks for Zelensky, and other commentary. In September, I boycotted the opening of the CCNY Moynihan Center to protest this normalization of anti-Semitism. Such rank cowardice and deafening silence in the face of these dangerous anti-American and anti-Semitic ideologies is capitulation to and collusion with those ideologies, which Ambassador Moynihan and his wife Liz would find abhorrent and shameful. And it's fueling the violent protests throughout our city, where agitators brandish Nazi swastikas and burn Israeli and American flags. This shameful failure of leadership shows no sign of reversing course. Even after October 7, anti-Semitism runs rampant. On Monday, CUNY for Palestine posted on X, no business as usual while the imperialist Zionist genocide continues. The group also accused Governor Hochul of trying to chill the growing movement on our campuses against the US-backed genocide after she warned, calls for genocide on college campuses violate state and federal law. The Post reported that students at CUNY's Queens College Flushing campus last month shouted at Jewish students, "Go back to Poland. Go back to Germany. That's where you're from." If an institution at Moynihan's alma mater will not defend its Jewish students and Jewish citizens of New York from the virulent bigotry that has captured its administration, faculty, and student body, it takes his name in vain. Maura Moynihan is a journalist and author based in Manhattan and producer of the documentary Moynihan.
Sorry, bros. Let's
Abigail Martinez, a mother who lost her daughter to
keep
suicide,
going here.
is seeking justice and protection for families facing similar situations. First Liberty Institute has submitted a brief to the Supreme Court on her behalf, urging the court to uphold parental rights in a case involving the removal of a child from Christian parents due to their religious beliefs about sexuality. Abigail's daughter, Yaley, struggled with depression and sexuality, and was ultimately taken from her home and given gender transition treatments without parental consent. Trending, top Democrat loses in historic landslide. My child was a number in the system. I don't want any other parent to suffer and go through what I've been going through, Martinez said. You are transgender, and the only way to be happy is to change your gender, Yaley was told. Despite her devout Christian beliefs, Abigail was forbidden from discussing her faith during supervised visits. The case highlights the violation of parental rights and religious freedom, and the Supreme Court has the opportunity to protect these rights. Most popular. Biden bank records reveal another massive bombshell. Democrat accused of blocking release of Jeffrey Epstein flight logs. Hunter Biden, indicted on 9 new criminal charges, faces 17 years. The post-Supreme Court can stop trans power grab that is taking away parental rights appeared first on State of the Union.
Oh, this is nice.
Well, if you were not watching C-SPAN and if you didn't see that Judiciary Committee hearing today, this was quite a mess. But we were trying to get my subpoenas of Jeffrey Epstein's flight logs and the subpoena of Sotomayor and her book deal. Things that weren't reported, but we have found out about this through the news. And of course, the chairman blocked it all, cut it off. That's not how this committee is supposed to work.
Women and girls in Gaza are suffering from unprecedented levels of violence, a new report says. Tennessee is cleaning up after a string of deadly tornadoes. And a pregnant Texas woman left the state after being blocked from getting an abortion. Waving hand hi there. Laura Davis here. Hope you had a good weekend. It's time for Monday's news. But first, a 1 in 100,000 sighting. Starstruck, a super rare piebald cow elk was spotted in Colorado. See the pictures here. Start the day smarter. Get all the news you need in your inbox each morning. The short list is a snappy USA Today news roundup. Subscribe to the newsletter here. Gaza is the most dangerous place on earth for women. Israel's military campaign in Gaza has turned the enclave into the most dangerous place in the world for women, according to the advocacy group ActionAid International. Women and girls in Gaza are suffering from unprecedented levels of violence during the Israeli military escalation, a report by the organization said. Health officials in Gaza have estimated the total Palestinian death toll at about 18,000 and say about 70% are women and children. ActionAid says women and girls are being killed and injured at horrific rates, denied their basic rights to food, water, and health care on a daily basis, and exposed to psychological stress and trauma after 2 months of living in terror. Backhand index pointing right. More updates. Israel blames UN for slow aid distribution. High winds, flood warnings in Northeast as Tennessee cleans up. Areas across the Northeast remained under flood and high wind warnings Monday afternoon as a massive storm that rattled Tennessee with a string of deadly tornadoes over the weekend moved through the region. What's happening? As a severe storm system moved through the area, forecasters said much more benign weather was expected in most of the east by Tuesday, though lake effect snow will be a concern in some places. Thousands of people were without power in New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Maine on Monday as winds knocked down trees and power lines. Roads flooded by the barrage of rainfall or blocked by debris have caused backups, detours, and street closures. Tornadoes in Tennessee. The greater Nashville region was pummeled by an estimated 13 tornadoes late Saturday. 6 people were killed, officials said. More than 15,000 people were still without power across the state as of Monday afternoon. Cloud with lightning and rain. See the full forecast here. Wind speeds peaked at 115 fin swarm of deadly Tennessee tornadoes. Real quick. Cardi B confirms split from husband Offset. I've been single for a minute now. Biden is struggling to connect with key Democratic voters. Is fear of Trump enough to motivate them? Hidden hospital prices harm patients. Can this new tool help? Holiday gift card scam. What you should know about card draining. Aaron Rodgers spent days in total darkness at a retreat. A teen shoplifter who was initially accused of murder in the stabbing death of a Los Angeles shopkeeper was sentenced to 5 years in a secure juvenile facility on voluntary manslaughter charges last week, per the Los Angeles District Attorney's Office. Initially, the office said at the time of the October 1st incident last year, 2 17-year-olds were charged with murder and second-degree robbery in the death of 56-year-old fashion district vendor Du Tommy Lee. The store owner, a Korean immigrant and a fixture in the district for nearly 20 years, reportedly chased and confronted the teens before he was stabbed near the corner of Olympic Boulevard and Wall Street, per the release. Witnesses told Fox 11 that the 2 17-year-olds, a boyfriend and girlfriend, ran out onto the street after stealing a wig with Lee in pursuit. Lee and one of the teens wrestled for a gun that the shoplifters had. Then, the store's landlord told the outlet, one of the teens pulled out a knife and shanked him right in the heart. Hollywood scion Sam Haskell, accused of killing wife and her parents, shows up shirtless in LA court. One of the 2 minors recently pleaded guilty to voluntary manslaughter, per reporting by ABC7. The maximum sentence available for that charge for a minor is 5 years in a secure youth treatment facility, the office told the outlet. Read on the Fox News app. A court date for the second juvenile is scheduled within the next 2 weeks, according to the outlet. I don't think he ever imagined he would ever be murdered over a wig, the landlord told Fox 11 at the time. Due to their minor status, the names of the defendants have not been disclosed publicly. Per California's Proposition 21, minors accused of murder, certain sex crimes, and other violent crimes will automatically be tried as adults. Suspected child molesters victims worry LADA will prosecute him as a juvenile. It is unclear why the teen's charges were downgraded. Fox News Digital could not reach the district attorney's office for comment at press time. Mr. Lee was killed in the middle of the day on a busy street in downtown LA while simply trying to run his business. District Attorney George Gaskin said in the October press release last year, when the pair faced murder charges. His death is a tremendous loss for his friends, family, and all who knew him. I want to make it clear that my office will work diligently to hold accountable individuals who engage in violent acts, even if they are minors. Fox 11 reported that Lee had been robbed 4 times in the last 4 years. Chiron Lee, the wig store owner's daughter, wrote in a GoFundMe initiative that her father had confronted multiple thieves over the past 5 years. He was beaten with a golf club in one previous incident, captured on film obtained by Fox 11 last year, and was beaten by multiple men, who broke his nose and fracture his arm in another, Chiron wrote. Los Angeles Jews fear hanging Hanukkah decorations in current climate, they could come burn it all down. Every time he confronted shoplifters, he would come back home with injuries like this, Chiron wrote. I would tell him, just give it to them, it's too dangerous, but not once did he listen. Chiron wrote that his refusal to back down infuriated her until she spoke with a nearby store owner after her father's death. She told me, Tommy wasn't fighting for himself, he was protecting all the small business owners there. Because if you let them steal easily, they are going to keep coming back. He was more like a brave heroic figure for us, Chiron recalled. California's Proposition 47, enacted by ballot referendum in 2014, reduced penalties for low-level drug crimes and thefts of items valued under $950. As a result, opponents like Representative Kevin Kiley, a former state assemblyman, argue that thieves feel emboldened to commit crimes. It essentially legalized theft and opened drug. When the United States Forest Service in August proposed renaming the Wayne National Forest, people flooded the agency with emails, calls, letters and texts. The 1,100 responses during a 2-week comment period showed a bitter divide in the latest battle of the nation's culture wars. The Inquirer obtained the responses through a public records request. The federal government hasn't decided what to name the 244,000-acre forest spread across southern Ohio. U.S. Agricultural Secretary Tom Vilsack will make the decision at his discretion. Start the day smarter. Get all the news you need in your inbox each morning. About 55% of those who responded to the Forest Service during the 2-week public comment period favored the removal of the forest's namesake, Revolutionary War Major General Anthony Wayne, known also as Mad Anthony, an Inquirer analysis of the responses showed. Wayne led the decisive battle in 1794 against Ohio's Native American tribes that forced them to cede their territory in Ohio and relocate west. The Forest Service has proposed changing the name to Buckeye National Forest. Other proposals for the name change included Cotewa National Forest, after a Miami tribe word for fires in homage to fire's role in forest management and regeneration. The proposed name change follows similar debates across the country over how, or whether, to honor historical figures with problematic legacies. Confederate monuments have been torn down, school buildings and military bases renamed. The emails obtained by the Inquirer contained the senders' names. The government redacted the email addresses and any information that identified where the senders hailed from. So the Inquirer could not ascertain how many were from Ohio residents and how many were from out of state. Here's what the emails revealed. Name change supporters wanted to right a wrong. Almost all who supported the name change said the country should honor American Indian tribes who were displaced from their homelands. They also felt Wayne wasn't worthy of the honor. Based on the horrors I have read about Anthony Wayne and how he treated indigenous people, his name should never be in any publicly financed park or facility, wrote Rhonda Barber in an email to the Forest Service on September 1. Doug DeBrick supported the name change because it addresses concerns the current name honors someone who led campaigns to annihilate and move their ancestors from the land where they lived and cared for. He wrote that he liked the name Buckeye National Forest. It also is a name that is inclusive to all generations who have lived on the land and not just we descendants of Europeans who have been here only a relatively short time in the history of the forest, DeBrick wrote. Name change opponents decried wokeness and erasing history. Those who opposed renaming the Wayne National Forest saw it as erasing history. Could we all just chill out, admit everyone's history is complicated and stop the renaming, wrote Peggy Feldhaus on August 24. By not renaming, the door is open to discussing the real human persons, flaws and all. Erasing their successes and qualities diminishes us. Many also slammed the Forest Service for what they saw as bowing to political pressure. Joseph Kaminer wrote in an email on September 4 that it didn't matter what the name is because Trump will change it back. The word woke was used frequently by name change opponents. A renaming campaign is just a show to put on for the woke to grab votes, wrote Jesse Laughlin in an email August 24. Stop trying to rename a forest and actually help out. I know I'd appreciate a better school or better roads or better infrastructure in my community. The Buckeye name too closely associated with OSU for some. The name Buckeye is so overused in the state of Ohio and is tied tightly to the land-grant University OSU, wrote Massachusetts Attorney General Andrea Joy Campbell, D., has filed a lawsuit against a self-described neo-Nazi group for an escalating series of unlawful and discriminatory incidents targeting LGBTQ+ events and immigrants. The suit, filed last week, accuses the National Socialist Club, also known as NSC 131, and its two leaders, Christopher Hood and Liam McNeil, of repeatedly engaging in violent, threatening, intimidating, and coercive conduct that has interfered with the exercise of rights secured by state and federal law, unlawfully obstructed access to public accommodations, including libraries and hotels, and damaged, defaced, and unlawfully intruded upon property throughout Massachusetts. Related, Nazis menace drag queen story hour. Juicy Garland tweeted from the event, "Golly, I didn't order those." According to the complaint, NSC 131 describes itself as a Nazi organization and engages in a range of activities that it claims are intended to identify and combat the enemies of true white New Englanders. Get the Daily Brief. The news you care about, reported on by the people who care about you. Subscribe to our newsletter. Those actions have allegedly included repeated attempts